I'm at the point where, you know what? It's okay to go up a size in pants if it's going to look better. I don't need to squeeze into the size I want to be because you're going to look better if your clothes fit. That's only been recently that I've been okay with that. And a big part of that was, I think, with Peloton, before I was going to the gym to lose weight. Constantly, I was working out to burn calories. It was, what did I eat yesterday? All right, let's go to the gym and burn that off. Now it's, I'm going to go do a run because it's fun. I'm going to go lift weights because I want to, have more strength and I want to see bigger muscles.
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. Know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out Podcast, episode 245. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. If I sound a little different this week, it's because I am in Los Angeles. I am quite the jet setter.
Yeah, well, we had to record even with you gone.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't have taken a week off no matter what, but we certainly wouldn't have taken this week off. Jesus, they would have killed us.
Yeah. We've had requests for 3 episodes. We've had requests for a 3-hour episode. We've had requests. I know, guys. I know. I feel you. Like, it's been a lot to process in the last 24 hours, and we're going to get into all of it. We've got. Remember
a week ago, or like 4 days ago, which in Peloton time is approximately 15 years ago, when the big story was like, is Amazon thinking about buying Peloton?
How did that become nothing? How did that become old news?
It's not even one of our topics.
No. This is craziness. Okay, well, we're going to do things a little differently since Tom's out of town. So obviously he's going to be recording from afar. So that's one, it's going to sound different. But 2, we have Donna Mills joining us to discuss, because we get a lot. But we also have William Sinecki is back. He is going to be joining us after every earnings call, and lucky him. Lucky him. This is the first one. So we have lots to include both John and William on. And there will be other things. We're going to talk about what's going on with instructors and all the other good stuff. But I'm just going to tell you right now. And
we'll still have an interview.
We still have an interview. That has not changed. And it's a great interview. Although I do want to say that, like, for anybody out there, I want to say right now, this could be a triggering topic because our interview talks about eating disorders. So if you are a person that is triggered by that, do not listen to the interview. But that will still be there. However, we are not going to be shy from digging into this conversation because there's a lot to be said. So it's probably going to be a long one. So buckle up and join us. So.
Awesome. Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, we're still going to do those. Don't forget, we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us while you're there. Be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. And if you'd be so kind, maybe leave us a review. That's always helpful. We have a new review.
Oh,
this is from Sammy Ann 1975. And she says, I've been a Peloton member since early 2017, and I've been listening to the Clip Out since the very first episode. Great way to feed my pillow addiction. And I look forward to listening on my commute every week. So thank you very much. That's greatly appreciated.
Ann.
Yeah.
That was a very nice review.
And then also, don't forget, we have a Facebook page, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It's a great way to stay up to date on things throughout the week, because sometimes during the week, there's breaking news and we will share it for you promptly. You can also sign up for our newsletter at theclipout.com. Obviously, we throw a lot of articles and stuff at you, and sometimes it's hard to remember what got posted where. And so you will get that in one weekly digest with all the links that we've discussed, so you can just follow up to your heart's content. And finally, if you want to look at our lovely faces, or our lovely face and me,
Stop.
You can go to youtube.com/theclipout, where you can watch all of these in HD. Although this week you're in HD and I'm in whatever the hell my computer webcam has. So, so there's all that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
Run, lift, and live with John Mills.
Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube, it's John Mills from Run, Lift, and Live. Hey, John, how's it going?
What is going on? It's happening.
Okay. Still got the energy.
Yeah, you're bringing the energy. I got to say, I'm a little surprised, John. I'm a little surprised. I thought it would be a little less energetic. I don't.
Yeah.
I thought there was. No. Okay.
No.
And don't forget our other guests.
I was getting ready to. I was waiting for people to stop talking. We also are being joined once again by William Sinecki, who was on here a while back to talk stock stuff, and we thought our plan was to bring him back for earnings calls, and lo and behold, the first earnings call is this one. So, hi.
Yeah, a lot to unravel today.
Yeah, way to make a splash with that entrance.
Absolutely. So I guess let's just dig right in. Well, no need to bury the lead. The earnings call was bumped up in the day on Tuesday, and everybody was like, "Well, what does that mean?" Well, apparently it meant John Foley is stepping down as CEO, and as we mentioned on last week's show, the layoffs are coming.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys remember, I said, we're probably going to have to see some layoffs, and we're going to probably have to see slowdown in manufacturing. Turns out it's that times 10, unfortunately. And, it sucks because Peloton, John Foley intended Peloton to be a generational company. I still think it will be a generational company, but it was never meant to be a giant in 2022 and 2023. The pandemic, it tricked Foley into thinking that he could grow a company into what he initially envisioned would take 10 years. He thought he could do it in 3 years. So he took a huge gamble, and I don't blame him for taking that risk. I'm a little irked on how he kind of misled shareholders to a little bit, but it was Murphy's Law. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong for Foley.
Yeah, I wonder about the whole, in retrospect, hindsight, we can see all that. Like, it's really clear. And even prior, I think, you had, the whispers of it. People were saying stuff. But my mind goes to like natural, like human nature. I was saying this in a group of mine earlier in the week. It's like, I played a lot of basketball, a lot of sports, and you have some days where it don't matter what you do. You could close your eyes. The ball goes in the hoop.
That's so
like
true.
Everything's going right. When those days happen, like you start drinking your own Kool-Aid, you like start smelling your own shit, I feel like, that I don't think that's just on an individual that does it. I think that's common to human nature when it's just like everything turns up roses. You just kind of think this is what it is. So I think about that as it relates to Peloton and relate to how they were moving. And like you said, Tom, a few weeks ago, they were like, Atari circa 1983. I think that really was how it was. I think they had like this veil that I think a lot of folks would have probably had that same type of outlook, And
he's an optimist, right? He is very optimistic. I honestly use the analogy that John Foley, when demand started plummeting, he found himself in quicksand. And anyone who's familiar with quicksand knows the more you move, the faster you fall. And every move Foley made was the wrong move, and it dug him deeper into the ground. He would have been better just having the lead time be 8 weeks, 10 weeks, right? Not increasing the production, not spending 35% on advertising, not cutting the bike price, and which resulted in lower demand. It's unfortunate. And here's the thing. I'm a risk taker, as you guys know from my investing. I take risks and I don't follow him on that. And I hate to see him step down. I really do.
It's I just got to say, from a personal level, it really breaks my heart. Like I felt sick when I read this headline. It was the last thing. Actually, it was the second to last thing I wanted. I believe that this is the only thing that would have kept them from being bought at this point, and therefore I'll take it, because he wouldn't have had any control or any say in anything that goes forward. But I tell you guys, to me, this is truly the end of an era. This John Foley, like it, love it, don't agree. He was the heart of this company, and not having him at the helm means everything changes from here on out. And I don't know how to feel about that. I fell in love with the company and who they were as a company. I'm not just a shareholder. I'm not just a person who did this I bought a product. This was so much more to me than just a product. And I don't know if it ever will be again.
Well, I think the thing we need to keep in mind, though, is that it's not like they packed all his shit in a box and escorted him off premises. Like, he's
Michael Scott, Toby,
still there. Right. Yeah. They didn't like put his fern in a cardboard box and say, get walking. He's still there. He's with chairman of the board or whatever the official moniker is. It's corporate speak, so I don't know. And but he's still there. He's still going to have input. And the new guy, Barry McCarthy, is that his name? Said in the email that he sent out about how like he has nothing but respect for Foley, and he knows that this company and this product is what it is because of him, and he would be an idiot, basically. I'm paraphrasing. I believe he said dipshit. No, but he's like
one of the other. I don't know which one.
It was one of those, yeah.
One of those.
But he's like, I'd be an idiot if I didn't like take his counsel on the overall direction of this company. And I also think that it's like, everything comes back to movies for me, as we know, in pop culture. But like they talk about this in The Godfather, Tom Hagen wasn't a wartime consigliere, right? And like maybe that's what we got going on here. The guy that built it maybe isn't the best guy to keep moving the ball forward. And so like maybe this isn't the worst thing.
I mean,
I think I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, here's the thing. John had everything that was needed to take the company to where it, went IPO'd, right? Mm-hmm. But when you get that big, that international, and you're that big of a brand, sometimes, we see this in other companies, it takes new management to take it that next step. And I commend Foley for stepping down. And I think that was a big one because still he has a lot of influence on the company. Executive team owns 75% of the shares. So he still has a very strong influence, like you said, and like it was said in the email.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I guess Barry still works for him, right? Like if he owns the bulk of the stock.
Well, yes and no, because the day to day, it's not like he's going to go check with every decision he makes. And John, what were you going to say? Because you had
I was just going to say that similar to what you were talking about earlier about, it kind of hits you at your heart, right? Because you've been here with this company and understanding who they were and believing in their premise and the promise, and John Foley at the head of that entire thing. And so to see this, even though we had been hearing for a while from a lot of folks that, this is what should happen and this is the change that needs to occur. When it actually occurs, it does you kind of go, oh, damn. But so I feel you with that. I feel you.
I do like the idea that this guy came from, his background is Spotify and his background is Netflix, because, we talk here a lot about the fact that I think a lot of people lose sight of the fact of what Peloton isn't, or they misunderstand what it is, and they think it's an exercise equipment manufacturer, and really it's a streaming service. It's a content delivery service with a proprietary device, and Spotify doesn't have to sell you special equipment to use it. Netflix doesn't have to sell you special equipment to use it. Can you imagine where Netflix would be if they could get all those people to spend $2,000 on equipment to use it and then pay 3 times as much a month? I mean, so it's like, I don't know that Peloton is positioned as poorly as people are making it out to be, but I think bringing in a guy from Spotify and from Netflix, I think that shows that internally they get the direction of what makes this company different from Bowflex or Echelon or any of that. And Echelon, obviously Echelon steals everything. I heard that they just replaced their CEO. They were just like, this is what we do.
Is his name Kerry McCarthy?
Yes, and he used to be the CFO of Crackle.
Yeah. That sounds right. Sounds right.
Yeah, I agree with you on all of those fronts. What they what are that? 2.8 million connected fitness subs like some
They aren't doing so bad.
6.6 or 7 million members. Like I gotta assume, I mean, they're already gaining some, 250,000 new Connected Fitness subs every quarter. If someone who is experienced in this space around subscription-based products, I mean, to me, that sounds logical because we already have something. So what can you do with that, right? So I'm interested to see.
John, I got to hit you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I got to hit John Mills with another basketball analogy. I've said this before. Peloton is a 7-foot basketball player who can't dribble a basketball, right? It's impossible to teach someone to be 7 feet tall in height. Just like it's impossible to have a net promoter score that Peloton has of 90, which is the highest, ever.
Yeah.
That's something you can't teach, but you can teach a basketball player how to dribble, that 7-foot player how to dribble, just as easily as they can teach Peloton to be financially disciplined. What they have is so hard to get, right? What they have, that community, and what they can change, like Foley said before, back to basics. That's all they got to do. And it's not going to be quick.
Yeah.
Had you said they were like a 7-foot basketball player that didn't know how to shoot free throws, I would be like, they're the Shaquille O'Neal of space. Is that what you're saying? Is that what we're saying here?
Oh, man.
I think we should change that up.
Yeah, I think we got Shaq. Got Shaq.
I am curious what everybody's thoughts are about some of the other changes they made. I mean, we've got the pop plant closing. They're going to sell the property. They're going to sell the shell that's there. I personally am saddened by that, although I think it's the right call by far. And then, we have Jill Foley leaving. She is no longer going to be in charge of the apparel. And then we also have William Lynch changed his position. Now he's just a full member of the board. They added 2 more board members. And I don't know everybody in the management area that has left. We just know it was a ton of employees, 2,800 employees. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on that. And I also want to make sure that we focus on the employees that are gone because they are a huge part of this story as well.
Yeah, one question I have is William Lynch is gone, right, as well. He's still on the board, but he's no longer president. And Foley and Barry steps in both roles. Now, I don't know the consequences or the disparity between those roles or what that means, but I found that interesting that they just filled him through both of those roles. And so I'd be interested, Bill, if you have any insight on what that may or may not mean. But ultimately, I think that I think all of the moves that I've been seeing, the things that they've been talking about, they seem to align, right? They seem to align with what we thought when we were the roles with regards to hardware. What was the role? That hardware engineering kind of lead role. Mm-hmm. That makes sense, right? Like we've been talking about the products that they've been releasing and whether or not, those really make sense or align to where the space is going and they're doing those things quick enough. Are they innovative enough? Like that to me kind of made sense. That individual that was head of global, their commercial business. And I started thinking, well, has much happened around that? And you've heard the scrutiny around that. And so I guess if the scrutiny is true, then I guess that makes sense. And
it's hard to say because there's also a lot of scrutiny around Jill and the apparel. And I know the apparel blew up in the last year and I know a lot of changes have occurred, but I don't know. I'm not sure I agree with like all of the, she never should have been in there. They only hired her because that was his wife. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think, I don't know. I guess it's, maybe it's just the human in me, but it's real easy to sit here and point fingers and shake your finger at them whenever we're looking back. But I don't know that other people would have made other decisions going forward. You have to remember how quickly they grew. They grew so fast.
Yeah.
And they gambled, like I said, they gambled. Yeah. And you remember when they would have the new product leases for apparel? It gets sold out right away. And John Mills is talking about you're just throwing it over your shoulder and swish, right? I mean, everything was going so right for them that they got high off their own supply and they took a big bet. Hey, Elon Musk, he took a huge bet too. I mean, Elon, and it paid off. right? And, if it wasn't the right scenario, if he didn't get government funding, if it wasn't right when, GM was going under, if everything aligned for Elon Musk to look like a genius and the opposite happened for John Foley, the worst case scenarios played out. And it's unfortunate, but I respect that he took the risk. And I love that he's got Barry McCarthy taken in the role, because Barry McCarthy is a visionary, right? He's worked with Reed Hastings at Netflix for 10 years, Daniel Ek at Spotify. And what I like most about him is he's in bed with TCV, right? So Jay Hogue is head of TCV Investments. Jay Hogue is the reason they did that capital raise at $46 a share. Jay Hogue bought 100 million shares.
Wow.
Barry McCarthy has been on the board of TCV as an advisor for 10 years, right? So him and Jay are pretty tight. He's in bed. So Barry McCarthy is in bed with TCV. TCV was founded by Jay Hogue. Jay Hogue is the reason that they did the capital raise at $46 a share. He bought $100 million worth of Peloton there. He essentially doubled down. And for people that are foreign to Jay Hogue is like the godfather of software investments. Like, in 2011, when Netflix went down to like $8 a share, who also bought $100 million worth of Netflix or some crazy amount like that? Jay Hogue. And he did the same thing with Peloton when Peloton dipped down. So Jay Hogue has so much experience. And he basically, I think him and Foley probably said, okay, we need to get Barry McCarthy in, because Barry McCarthy already had success in companies that Jay Hogue has large investments, which we talked about, Netflix and Spotify. So we have a great team. And what's great about Barry McCarthy is he got such a good incentive in terms of stock. He got an option to buy 8 million shares at yesterday's close, and it vests over 4 years. So if the stock goes to $102 in 4 years, he makes $500 million. If the stock goes to an all-time high, back above 165, 171, he will make over $1 billion, right? So this guy is like MJ coming out of retirement right now. That's the only reason I was like, if I'm 69, 68 years old, I'm going to be on the beach with a Corona. And this guy was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then they gave him this stock offer. And he was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I can hold back on retiring.
Yeah, that talk about a generational company. It's like a generational wealth. I mean, not that I'm sure he was hurting in the first place, but that's the kind of money that, sets up your great grandkids. Like that's
Rockefeller money.
Yeah, absolutely. So back to the employee situation. Let's drill down on that for a little bit. There was obviously a lot of flack about that they keep their Peloton subscription for a year. Like that became a bit, which I thought was so ridiculous, because it's like, well, if they shut it down, then people would have been mad about that. And it's not as if that's the totality of their severance package, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
From that perspective, that makes a whole lot of sense to you. That's not the way I initially saw it in my brain, but that makes a lot of sense. How I initially saw it in my brain, I was thinking, if I was in love with the company I work for, and one day I just show up and they tell me I'm gone, that day I may not be so fond of them anymore.
Sure.
So the idea of, and by the way, you can see us every day on your screen,
right? But
get the hell out. That's the part that made me go, that's great. They gave it to them. Maybe they shouldn't have told us that. Like,
I just think it was
that
like
aspect of it, right?
And I get what you're saying, but yeah, like but again, if they take it away, now it just looks petty, and so there's kind of, in terms of that aspect, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I'm like, if I work for NBC and I get fired, I'm still going to watch Seinfeld.
But don't forget that working out is stress relieving, and not having a job is stressful. And so I think you also can't sit there and say, well, we're a company that talks to our clients, for lack of a better term, of like we say, oh, this is so good for you, this is so healthy, and now we're going to let all these people go without any kind of mental health help. I mean, and I know it's not like professional mental health. I don't mean it's a replacement for true mental health treatment, but it can help with depression and anxiety and a lot of things that people have been known to experience during a job loss.
Right, in situational depression, not necessarily
clinical,
clinical or chemical based depression. Yeah.
Yes.
The good thing is, as you look at the post on LinkedIn and as the community in general, I mean, even in my group, there were folks that had been, laid off, and they were announcing it. And then people reaching out and saying, well, listen, we got some openings here. Why don't you come over and talk? So I started seeing that. That was wild. And then we saw that, start happening on LinkedIn. And then we see, Dara Tresiter's IG. I mean, in the end, I'm like reading these things and realizing that my context of how are they emotionally after this happened relative to that company looks like it's a little bit different. Like they're still, they still hold like that same fondness, right? Like they're just disappointed they're not there, but they still hold that same fondness. So that kind of changes the perspective.
It does. And I think it kind of depends on where you sit, like, where you were in this, where you were about like what you did at the company. Right. And the reason I say that is because that might have depended on how you were told. And it also might depend when you were aware that it was happening, because I hear that logistics was affected the greatest number. It was like 1,800 out of 2,800 employees. So the people who were out in the field ops, they didn't necessarily know, they hadn't had this as much reiterated to them over and over again as office employees that this was coming. This is all my understanding. My understanding from the people in the office is they knew that this was openly discussed in meetings that like, oh yeah, this is totally coming. I mean, people weren't just like, you're all going to be fired or anything like that, but it was just like, we got to right size. We got to look at how much we're spending operationally. So people were not unaware, at least from an office perspective, this was coming. But then there's no good way to tell 3,800 people simultaneously you lost your job. So then whenever they closed down Slack and they closed down these other channels, and it happened overnight, there were a lot of people who felt that was really not cool. But you can't have that many conversations simultaneously. It's just impossible. I don't mean to take that like, get over it. That's not, it still hurts. It still sucks. But I don't know that there's a better way.
But here's the thing, Crystal. In that conference call, they said they've been planning this and going through strategy for the past several months, right? So they knew this was coming. Right. So why didn't they start the conversation several months ago, And I remember what you said last time in the call, like you have to, or I was on Facebook, this is not a decision to make lightly. And I totally agree, right? But if you knew this was coming for several months, don't you think you owed it to your employees to maybe start the process earlier, maybe send an email? I mean, it's not. Though.
There was an email he sent, like whenever the leak came out, he sent an email then saying, hey, we're looking at this. Like this is going to happen. He never said, oh, we're not going to nobody's going to lose their job. Like he said, yeah, we're looking at it. Yeah. I don't know what those decisions are going to be. And
also, if you telegraph that too far in advance, then that can make a bad situation worse. What's that going to do to your stock price? You can also cause a mass exodus of staff, and you might end up causing people that you don't want to leave. Because if you're not saying specifically, hey, you drone 319, you're the one getting shit canned. Drone 320 might leave, and he's or she's the drone you wanted, right? And so, I mean, it would be nice, but from a strategic standpoint, like from the human perspective, it's
very easy to say that, to be like, you should have told us ahead of time. And I know that companies do try to do that. And especially whenever you're talking on a small scale, it's easier to do. When you're talking 3,000 people, and that's the size of some towns, that's a lot harder to do and to be as one-on-one as you want to be with that many people. Don't get me wrong. Maybe there is still a better way. I just don't know what it is. I've had to be part of these conversations in other companies, and it's never easy. Never.
And obviously there are worse ways to let people go than some ways are worse than others, but I've never heard anybody that's been let go who's been like, boy, they really did that well. Hat tip.
That's a great point, Tom.
5 stars would get fired again.
Yeah, I feel both sides of it. I mean, like you said, I mean, you're somewhat in between a rock and hard place.
Yeah.
And so inevitably, you're probably not going to do this very well. Like, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to screw some stuff up. I think that just kind of happened. But you know what is interesting to me about the earnings call that just resonates so heavily in my mind, to Bill's point, that they clearly had time to think about this, is that we saw last quarter that they dropped guidance by $1 billion. And then this quarter, they drop it by another $1 billion. So clearly during fiscal Q2, they knew we got to do something big. Right. Like, so I hear you, Bill. I hear that. Like that resonates with me.
Yeah. Hey, did you guys hear about the a virtual all hands meeting to actually went on today to welcome the CEO? Yeah. But it was cut short abruptly. I haven't read the entire.
He read emails from people that had lost their jobs. He said he read an email that was positive and he read an email that was not positive. And then he apologized again. And then Barry spoke as well and talked to them about how he's going to be doing things. And he reiterated that he's going to have John involved in the strategic vision of the company and that he'll be running the day-to-day. But it was a lot shorter, but definitely did not end abruptly. And I also was told that depending on the employee, that there's a very wide variety of reactions out there. There's reactions that are angry, understandably, by the way. There's reactions that are like, yeah, we kind of figured this was going to happen. And there's just a huge variety. So it's going to take some time as a company to heal from that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I bet you a lot of these employees thought, this is going to be my career. This company's growing so fast and so well. And this is like getting hired at Disney in 1940. Like this will be what I do for the next 30 years. And now not so much. So I'm sure that there's some frustration in that regard, but
here's one that I heard that today, I did not realize this, but apparently some people had accepted promotions recently, and there's a few individuals, had they not accepted that promotion, they would still be here at Peloton. Yeah.
That's dirty. Yeah, that's got to sting. Let's talk about who's not getting laid off, which is, of course, any of your instructors. And honestly, I don't think they should be. Like, I get that it's not necessarily the best optics, but at the end of the day, like, this is your brand, right? Like that's almost like if Coca-Cola saying, you know what the solution is? What if we made less Coke? Like, I just love it.
It's true.
Did you see the Blackwell deck?
Yeah.
Did you see what they started talking about?
Here it is. We got it. Which page?
Elements of their brand, and they show the instructors and their social engagement and their social following. I did see that. And
that's the one.
That right there alone, to me, is why you can't really do that.
Yeah, right. Cody is the only instructor that has passed 1 million, but Robin is right behind him, hot on his heels.
That was Allie right on his tail.
Oh, I didn't even see Allie's. Yeah,
Allie's right there.
Yeah, I mean, the community is so comfortable with these people. It's like watching, I don't know, a morning show for a baby boomer. I don't know what morning shows they watch, but like an ABC morning, you see them every day. They start to become part of your life, right? And they're already embedded in the community. And I mean, it sounds awful because they're getting paid $500,000, but it was the right business decision.
Well, if they got rid of one of these instructors, they're going to pop up at a Bowflex or an Echelon or something like that instantly and have it rammed right down their throat. And it would just I feel bad for the 2,800 people that lost their job. Absolutely. But if you start shedding instructors right now, you're jeopardizing the jobs of the people who are still there. This is what this company does. This is what differentiates them at the end of the day, because people can make a clone of their bike, but they can't make a clone of their instructors. And if they start getting rid of them, to me, that's when it starts to circle the drain. I mean, instructors will always come and go. They're human beings, and they'll make decisions. They have free will and agency. So like, I don't mean to say no instructor can ever leave, or if an instructor does, it's the end of Peloton. But if the belt tightening means that they're changing the product that the end user is receiving, like, that's when, to me, that would be a major alarm bell.
It was yell worthy. That is a great point. That is a great point. It's for the betterment of the entire company. I get it. Yeah, that's very insightful and well said.
Tom, can you just repeat your last sentence though? So we can
Sure. I'll try and give it to you as close as I can. That if they were to get rid of any of these instructors, that to me, that would be a major alarm bell. Like that's a sign of defeat if that's what belt tightening resulted in. And I think it would be a major sign of blood in the water, way more than what we're currently seeing. Like, I think this is draconian measures to right the ship. But if they start getting rid of instructors for fiscal reasons, they got way bigger problems than what we're seeing right now.
I just was going to say also, I don't think every instructor makes north of $500,000. I think that's your legacy instructors like Robin and Jen Sherman and that kind. I don't think it's everybody. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Say, John?
Oh, I was just going to say that some of these headlines they're very convenient and they're going to generate a lot of like discussion and probably a lot of clicks and a lot of views talking about the instructors not getting cut, or the previous thing we were talking about with regards to they were given, free membership. I've seen articles on both of those things. I think they're just very convenient.
Lauren Thomas. Lauren Thomas is a clickbait. I don't want to say the word, but
don't say that word.
She just wants the clickbaits. And you know Allegedly. What, guys? Here's the thing. I know you guys think after that conference call that there's no Peloton acquisition deal. It's probably lost. I don't think so. But I think if it were to happen, it's certainly going to be delayed. Peloton wants to sell from a position of strength,
absolutely,
not from a position of peak vulnerability where they're at. So I mean, here's the thing: the stock should not have gone up 50% based off those earnings. Hell no, like John Mills' point, 5.4 billion to 4.4 billion. Then they cut it by another billion. It was worse than I thought it would be. But how often do you see rumors about the biggest, best companies in the world in different sectors potentially competing for one company, i.e., Disney, Nike, Apple,
Amazon?
This is unprecedented. And I think right now we're seeing a lot of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Wall Street bets, meme stocks. We're seeing a little meme action going on. And I don't know how long this will continue, but it's happening at the perfect time for Peloton, because all growth stocks the last 2 days have just jumped. So this news came out in a perfect timing. Peloton has a high short interest, so I think that's giving the stock some boost too. And I really don't think an acquisition deal, I think it's more close now, because I think Peloton, obviously it's close to John Foley, but it's still a little further now after this, right? And now he's a little more business centric. Everyone there is a little more business centric. And I think what Barry, it might not be, but what I think Barry's mission is to package Peloton in a nice little box with a nice ribbon and bow and get north of $100 a share for the company. And how long that takes, I don't know. It's going to take a while. There are some deep systemic issues in that company. And like they said, they're not going to see the adjustments on the logistics side and manufacturing side and Peloton Ohio Park until after fiscal year 23 on some of those things. It's going to take a while, right? But the stock just said, screw that, I'm going up 50%. So there's some meme mania right now. I still think the stock is undervalued. We talked about this last time I was on the show. There was more upside than there are downside. But since I've been on the show last time, one thing that's different is a lot more other stocks that are growth oriented compared to Peloton. They're down a lot farther than when I made that last statement. So when someone just made 50% on Peloton in 5 days, now are they going to jump into a Facebook that's down 40%, in the last 3 months? I don't know. But I can tell you this, the stock price going up 50% based off those earnings is a little irrationality from the market, because it's not proportional to the earnings call that I heard.
Well, I think they're just happy John's not in power. That's how I took it. I took it over like you got him out of there. Good.
I think
it's not going to be quick.
I think there's some of that, just the happy that he's gone. But I think there's some that it's just they're happy that they're doing something.
They have a plan.
Right? That this feels like a real plan, and they brought in a real guy with real experience, and that I don't think it's just an F you to John. I really don't.
You can tell I take things
so.
personally. That's how I would have seen it if that were me. I would
I'm
be
married to you, so I know
that's why I would take it
personally.
I got a question.
Yeah, John.
A year from now, are we going to be hearing Blackwell was successful in ousting the CEO of Peloton? Are we going to see that article?
Here's the thing.
That's how they'll try to spin it.
Yeah, no matter what happens, they're successful, right? Because he did it. He left. But can I just say they're not successful because this conversation was clearly happening months before Blackwell did their little thing. So yeah, that is how they're going to spin it. That is how history will remember it. But we know
that's not true.
That is not what happened.
Yeah.
And it's important for the people like us to remember that and to say that. Now, to Bill's point, I hope that they don't sell the company. I don't want them to sell. I don't want them to. But I think that a key here is not only is it possible they're trying to get the price up, but now with John not being involved in the day-to-day, now it's easier to let go. Now it's like over time, that makes it easier to be like, well, I had my run. It's okay.
Yeah.
And how old is John Foley? What is he, like 52, 53, something like that?
Yeah, 51 to 53. Or
okay. So so if it takes him 5-6 years to get this to where they want it to be, and now he's pushing 60, like all of a sudden, like, you know what? I can sell this and make $1 billion, make literally $1 billion.
Guy. I know. I just don't want to see the big evil corporations win, right?
Amen.
You're in the wrong business, man.
Here's the thing. Okay, this was the statement I put on Twitter. I said the worst short-term catalyst or the worst short-term event for Peloton shareholders is that there's no acquisition deal, right? That's the worst thing that can happen short-term for Peloton shareholders. The best thing that can happen long-term for Peloton shareholders is that there's no acquisition deal, right? Because
I agree.
Peloton, dude. Okay, so Peloton, right? They used to have 50% gross margins on their equipment, right? So 50% gross margins, that would cover all the customer acquisition costs. So basically, Peloton was getting these customers before they made these price cuts. They were getting these customers for free, right? And then the subscription revenue was coming, it was infinite, right? And good investments are something that you find 5x the return of customer acquisition cost. Peloton had such a unique model. It was getting its customers for free just because the margins were 50% on that hardware. And we're going to go back to that model now where we're getting those customers for free. We're going to start with the $800 million savings in run rate. We are going to get back to that model where we're making 50% margins just on customers. And when we have all these new products coming out, it's a no-brainer that you got to make these products more expensive because the community is incentivized to buy these products because you're still only paying $39 a month, no matter if you have a bike, tread, or rower. And the analogy I like to use is this: imagine your household, you get a Kia, right? And you got to pay gas on that Kia. You get another Kia, and that gas is free for life. I mean, that's essentially what the $39 a month is. That's such a compelling value. And we're not realizing yet because we don't have those other products there. And we won't have those other products there if we spend so crazy like this. Now Peloton's telling us they're going to have $1.2 billion in cash at the end of this fiscal year after making the cuts. And they're going to have a $500 million in revolving credit. Their balance sheet it's going to get back to where we need it. And we're going to have that sustained profitable growth. We're not going to have that crazy growth like we wanted. But that crazy growth that we wanted, it was at a cost because we were losing money on every sale. Now that's not going to be the case. We can go at a slow organic growth and be that $300 a share company that I still think Peloton has a strong shot to be.
I have a question for you, Crystal. I share the sentiment, so I'm not challenging it. This is just layman John again. This is just layman John again. Asking these revolving questions.
Don't make me get my everybody voice out.
Oh, yeah, I might do something. So you do everybody voice. Okay, I mean, so is your sentiment around you're hoping they don't get acquired? Is that related to your emotions around who Peloton was before the IPO?
Absolutely. I mean,
Yes.
we're never going back to those days. We're never going back to those days. And honestly, the biggest upsetness feeling that I've had the last 2 days is because of that, because this made me realize that I have
That
grieved.
days is gone.
I have grieved for that. I never thought really we were going back to it, but there was still like this tiny hope, but,
Right.
it's gone. There will never
Yep.
be that again. We're not going to have a homecoming where we get together and I talk to you about a podcast. You know,
Right.
that's the first time I met you. That's not going to happen.
That's right.
We're not going to get together in a room and be basically at a cocktail party with the instructors. It's never going to happen. And so I don't want to lose the heart of the company. And now John is gone. Now Jill is gone. That was a huge part of that heart. And so the last beat of that heart is the fact that it's still Peloton. If you sell it, it's gone. It's dead. Forget it.
Right. You know, I was in my clubhouse the other night. We did like an urgent clubhouse meetup right after earnings. Right.
Support group.
And you have these disparate groups of people. Right. You have the people that were around pre-IPO that remember all that stuff and are likely investors because they felt all that and they dove in when the IPO happened. They were going to get something. And then you had the newer folks that have been around a shorter amount of time. They don't know a Peloton from prior to that date. And their mind, they may or may not be investors. They probably not. And their mindset is more just about, look it, I just get on the bike and there's Allie. So I'm good.
Just give me my ride. I'm done.
So they don't get the emotion. So you got this one side, they're all emotional. And you got the other side going, why aren't we talking about the artist series that just came out? Like, you know, there's this contention and different mindsets. I feel like I'm with you. I was hoping that we would get back to that in some semblance of that. But yeah, I kind of resigned myself that that's not going to happen. I mean, they're a public company now. They've got shareholders to align with, and they got, you know, this is just a different space now. So when we start talking about acquisition, it doesn't. Yeah, I might get a little stabbing in my chest a little bit, but I'm not opposed to it. I'm going, well, I mean, we're in a different world now.
It's just the nature of things. All I can think about is a picture I saw one time in one of my nerd magazines, and it's from the early 70s.
Thank God it's the nerd magazines that you're going to tell us about.
It's from the early 70s, and it's these people in a hotel conference room, and they were getting together at one of the first Star Trek conventions, right? Mm-hmm. And it's this guy sitting there with storyboards for this thing he's doing. And he's like, this is a project I'm working on. And I hope you Star Trek nerds at your little get together shindig here will support this thing. And that head nerd with the storyboards was George Lucas.
For Star Wars.
He was trying to get them to go see Star Wars when it came out in a year. And to show you how growth works, it's not just Star Wars. That little Star Trek convention is now the San Diego Comic-Con. So,
okay.
So, I mean, that's just the nature of things. So hopefully Peloton becomes Star Wars and we become the San Diego Club.
But I don't want to lose the community. I don't want to lose the connection.
That's what we're here for, honey. That's
for sure.
We've got a new marketing. We've got a rebrand right away.
Yes. Dara, are you
community
listening?
is magic. I still don't even get the secret sauce to that, but they are magic.
Timing.
I mean, literally.
Timing. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I guess before we wrap this up, is there any aspect of this that we haven't turned over and picked apart that you guys want to tackle?
It's the end of an era.
It is.
Well, did they say by end of fiscal 2022 that they were going to have 3 million connected fitness subs? I think they're going to have that by end of Q3.
They cut that big time too with the revenue. I mean, yeah, it's blood in the streets, but investors don't mind it because, like I said, we felt like we were being lied to, right? And it happened with the whole, we're not doing a capital raise, we're doing a capital raise. I mean, stuff like that, or we're hiring 3,000 employees, and then 2 weeks later, they're doing a hiring freeze. Right. We felt like we were being lied to, right? Yeah, and I think now, finally, okay, they are treating us, they're actually on the same page with us, and they're telling us the facts and the plan. And I think it's giving people hope. Like I said, this 50% pop is a little irrational because the numbers were pretty bad, right? But I still think, I mean, when you try to look at the stock price short term, flip a coin, right? But if you take it, when in doubt, zoom out. I think in 10 years, we're going to be on a beach and we're going to be cheersing each other because we're loaded from Peloton stock. I still think that's
we won't know each other in 10 years because they will have been bought.
I believe in this though. I think we're going to be like Eddie Murphy and we're going to be on the beach.
I'm joking. Yeah. I'm joking. Just to add to your point, actually, in all seriousness, if you think about where everybody else is in connected fitness right now, there's a lot of Peloton's competitors that are actually doing worse than Peloton.
Right.
Peloton's getting all of the attention.
Which is because it's the only Peloton gets all the attention because it's the only one of those products that anybody gives a shit about.
Did you guys hear iFit hired bankruptcy lawyers?
Yeah, I heard that.
We know that they're going through that issue. I didn't know they had hired the lawyers, so that's
they've hired bankruptcy lawyers. They're imploding right now, and here's the problem.
Problems.
And we're fixing it, right? But here's the problem: we spend 11 times on content compared to iFit, right? We spend 11 times. Why are we charging the same as iFit, right?
Because people don't get it.
You can be the best. Yeah, I don't know. You can be if you're the best in a sector, you control pricing. Steve Jobs in like 2005, they said, "Hey, what do you think? Your products are so expensive. You're going to leave out the middle and lower class. How do you feel about that?" And he said, "I just don't feel right selling crap to people. Stuff I don't want to sell to my own daughter, I'm not going to sell this to someone on the street," right? And Peloton, we are the best. We can charge more. And we found out by cutting the price, it didn't increase any sales.
It didn't.
Right? So now we have a plan.
I don't know that they should charge more because I get what you're saying about the price points being the same, but I don't think it's because Peloton's charging too little. I think it's because iFit's charging too much. I think they just looked at what Peloton did and said, well, if they'll give them 40, they'll give me 40. And that's as much thought as went into it.
You're right, Tom. You're freaking right, because they're going to go out of business and then Peloton can say, okay, now we can charge more. Right.
Right.
So you make a good point.
And if they do go out of business, where are those people going to move to?
The pricing goes, I've been saying for a very long time that as they add new products, do not be surprised if that price goes up or becomes some kind of add-on thing. Now,
right. If you want your guide to work, it's $45 a month.
Yeah. I still think that is an option, especially with everything up in the air right now.
They're going to do freemium, I guess, where that's an idea being thrown around where they're going to have, different tiers for the digital app. Like if you want the cheaper one, then there's going to be ads at the start of class. They're probably going to start doing that. Crystal, I know you probably hate that. I don't
really care. I
don't want to be in the middle of a meditation and hear an Arby's commercial, but it's what we got to do.
I think what would bother me, I think there needs to be the freemium like that I'm okay with that because I'll gladly pay for it not to have any ads. Yeah. That's what I do with everything. I don't watch commercials. I don't like them.
Too grown for that. I love it.
I don't have the time.
Hey, hang on before you start talking down commercials too much. Don't forget we do run them.
I know. I was just thinking that. I was like, people are going to be like, God, you hypocrite. Really hypocritical. but they get this podcast for free. On the other hand,
that's true.
And we love it.
Nautilus,
and we love it,
as we speak. Nautilus, as we speak, their earnings calls is going on. Like I'm going to go and check it out after this, but I don't know what's been going on with them, but I know iFit's been struggling and we've been seeing them floundering and battling. And so I'm interested in see what the other players in the space, what's happening with them, Nautilus specifically. So
Darwinism, baby.
You're going to have to update us next week, John.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. Bill, before we let you go, where can people find you?
At @wild_, editors fix that. You can find me at @wild_Bill32 on Twitter. I am formerly known as Peton Gaines, Peton Pains now.
Awesome. And John, where can they find you?
On Facebook, they can find me in my group or page, Run, Lift, and Live. They can find me on Instagram, Run, Lift, and Live. They can find me on the tickety-tock, Run, Lift, and Live. That's that old man kind.
Yeah.
Or they can find me at runliftandlive.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Talk to you
Thank
guys
you
later.
so
Thank you,
much.
Bill.
I'll see you. Good talking to you.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jenn.
Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube is Dr. Jenn Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. She also has an app called No More Diets that you might find helpful or useful. Ladies and gentlemen, and all points in between, it's Dr. Jenn.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Great to see you guys.
Likewise.
Thank you for coming back. We have more questions from the Clip Out group. This one is from Jacqueline Jax Ash. And she says, this is probably a weird question. She hates, like lots of hate, for Power Zone. She says, but I see the value in doing the challenges every so often because I see marked improvements. How do I motivate myself to do something I know will help in the long run, but when 6 to 8 weeks of it seems so freaking long? I am fascinated to hear your answer.
And is she talking about doing like an actual Power Zone program or just like one single Power Zone class?
So she's talking about there are Power Zone challenges run by like an independent thing that they have like outside of Peloton. That like just a random person is putting together these challenges. That's all based on a whole bunch of Power Zone classes, and then they have to do it for 6 to 8 weeks, and it's a team. So like if you could do it solo, but if you're in a team, then like part of the pressure is like you've got all these people depending on you. You can also do it solo, and I don't know which one Jacqueline's doing, but as you go through it, in theory, your FTP should go up over that time period, which is why she feels compelled to do it.
Okay, that sounds like a nightmare. No, I am a hardcore Peloton addict. I work out 7 days a week. I have 2 treads. I have 2 bikes. I wear the clothes. Like you can't find me in a 24-hour period without something Peloton on me. And like, I would rather stick needles in my eyes than do that. But more power to you. Those of you who are doing that, I bow down to you. I respect you. I think it's awesome. So here's what I'm going to say. You don't have to do everything just because everyone else is doing it and it improves you. There are a lot of different ways to improve your output. I've been doing Peloton for now, I think like 3 years. And my endurance has improved so much. When I first started, I could barely get through a 20-minute run at a 5, and now I can do an hour run, and my baseline run is at a 6. So what I'm here to tell you is that that is not the only way to improve, and that I'm a big believer that the exercise we do, well, sometimes it can be difficult or challenging, like it should not be something that fills you with dread. That we should be picking things that help us to get stronger and better, that are the least horrible that we can pick. And I'm a big believer in pushing ourselves, but also pushing ourselves with the things that we enjoy. And so maybe what the compromise for her is, instead of joining this power group, this endurance group, instead maybe she makes a commitment to once or twice a week to do a Power Zone class and to look at her metrics. And you know what? So she improves the same amount over the course of 1 year that she might have done in an intensive 2 or 3 month period. She still is finishing that year loving exercise, loving her bike, looking forward to it, having a positive association. Because when we create too much of a negative association with exercise, we're going to at some point get burned out or not do it or get injured. Mm-hmm. So I would say, you know what? Again, more power to those of you who are doing that. I think it's amazing. It's impressive. Like, I'm not a Power Zone kind of gal. I aspire to do a little more, but for me, the thought of doing that does not sound fun. And I like my exercise to be fun. And I like for other people who are inspired by this podcast and by Peloton to have great experiences. So I would say really do a deep dive on what other ways you can improve your endurance. And also, by the way, sometimes strength work can really improve your endurance. The one thing that I do that I really don't like, but I don't hate it, is HIIT cardio. For me, I do HIIT cardio. I incorporated it into my exercise plan last year. And it's just one of those things that every time I do it, it is so hard, but I enjoy the challenge. So I don't totally hate it. It's just like, oh, like I thought I was so much better than this. I thought my endurance was better. I thought I was so much stronger. And that I'm all for. So really look at where else you could incorporate things into your plan, whether it's strength, whether it's some HIIT cardio classes, whether it is doing the power zones once or twice a week, or maybe adding in some running to your regimen, or some outdoor running. That there are a lot of different ways to improve your endurance, and that's not the only one. So don't do something that you really loathe.
I wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said. And I would also add that this is another vote for her doing strength, because she's probably the improvement she's specifically talking about is the output going up and over time. And so I think that I know that doing strength can have similar results. So taking those classes, like you said, a couple times a week, and also adding in more strength, I think she could get the same results without being miserable. So I think that's fantastic advice. That was a very specific Peloton question. I love that we can hit those like that.
I said, I love that I can talk about my obsession with you guys.
Yeah, and you can't get
help others.
You can't get Peloton specific advice like that in other places.
You cannot.
This is where you go for stuff like that. So, well, thank you very much for helping her out. And until next week, where can people find you?
You can always find me on social media at Dr. Jenn Mann, 2 N's on Jen, 2 N's on Mann. And you can find me in my weekly InStyle magazine column, Hump Day with Dr. Jenn, that's all about sex and relationship advice.
A visit from the Peloton Prophet.
Okay, well, back to regular Peloton news.
Well, yeah, who knows if this is even still valid after everything that's occurred?
Absolutely.
But I think it is. It is.
I don't know why that would, everything that happened would prevent this from occurring, but Lane Break, the video game that, the gamification of Peloton that has been bandied about and been being beta tested, will be rolling out soon, according to our Peloton Prophet.
Yes. Valentine's Day is the big day. So hopefully next week we'll all get to play a little Lane Break and check it out. So Tom, are you gonna join me for Valentine's Day and play a little Lane Break?
I got you Lane Break for Valentine's Day.
But are you gonna
this is what I'm getting you for Valentine's Day.
Are you gonna play the Lane Break?
So you got Lane Break.
Are you gonna play the Lane Break with me? Because I want to do something with you.
I can stand there and make Pac-Man noises while you do it.
All right. I tried.
As close as you're going to get. So if you're looking for a different way to get your cardio going, you should check out Fight Camp. It blurs the line between fitness and gaming.
It does. And it's so fun. The gaming aspect of it, you get to see, like, here's how many punches you should be hitting, and you get to try to beat it. So it brings out that competitive side. And also it is really fun to hit things, like to actually have something in front of you and
get some contact.
It. Yes. I love that feeling. I feel very empowered when I punch that bag.
And they have quick workouts. They maximize your efficiency with high intensity interval training, and you can get a killer workout in as little as 20 minutes.
And you need zero boxing experience. They have programs that take you through the beginner all the way up to being really awesome at it. And it's a full body workout. So you have no need to worry about if any of your fitness is missing.
Fight Camp comes with all the gear you need to start boxing from home, including a freestanding punching bag, boxing gloves, quick hand wraps, and smart punch trackers. And it takes up less space than you think. If you have enough room to do a push-up, you got enough room for Fight Camp.
Fight Camp offers easy payments so you can get your equipment and get started now. Pay over 24 months for less than the cost of a gym membership. Plus, Fight Camp offers free shipping with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Just go to fightcamp.com/clip.
To get free shipping on your Fight Camp, go to fightcamp.com/clip.
Fightcamp.com/clip.
Peloton in the news.
So believe it or not, there are still other things to talk about with Peloton in the news that aren't catastrophic. So it was an interesting article from CNBC. Steve Kovac, which I believe is Crystal's pseudonym, because he's saying exactly what you've been screaming from the mountaintops and people have been ignoring, which is Apple's acquisition history shows why a Peloton buy is out of the question.
Thank you, Steve. Now people listen because you were a boy.
But yeah, the article just talks about how if you look at Peloton's history, they don't tend to buy companies that are that highly valued. They don't want to
Apple's history.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. Apple's history. They don't tend to buy companies that are that highly valued. That the closest that you have is Beats, which was $3 billion, which for Apple is nothing. And other than that, most of them are more of what they consider acqui-hires, which is they acquired the company to get the staff more than the actual company itself. And so they definitely agree with Crystal that Apple is probably not interested in Peloton.
Well, there you have it. I like Steve.
So now I got to live with that for the next week.
Luckily, you're out of town, Tom. So
that's true. That was good timing. That was very, very fortunate. Also, Mashable. I need to get a new sweeper made that's like the dumbest idea of the week. Mashable has an article about how Peloton would be so much better if it let you stream stuff like Netflix and Stadia.
I don't know, but I told this guy off on social media. He doesn't know it because he doesn't know who I am, but I tried to add him everywhere I could because he's just wrong. And here's why he's wrong. Even if you want Netflix on your equipment, guys, I just want to say that's not the issue that I have with this. The issue I have with this article is that Adam thinks that it is an oversight, and it is not. It is on purpose. It is a feature, not a bug. Tom likes to say that a lot. Yeah. And it is purposeful. They want you to be focused on a class.
I mean, as we talked about earlier in the earnings call segment, that the product is the instructors, and that's what creates the engagement. And if you watch Netflix, your bike for most people will become a clothes hanger. I know there are exceptions, and if you want to watch Netflix, there are easy workarounds, whether it's slapping an iPad up there or putting a TV in front of your bike or jailbreaking your tablet if you want to avoid your warranty. But most people, if you give them that option, it leads to them using their bike less.
Yeah. And I know that that's not everybody. Like you said, there are exceptions to that. And I just want to say, this is not to be mean to people who don't want to work out hard all the time. There are plenty of really good reasons that you would want to just take it easy and ride a bike nice and easy, or walk on the treadmill nice and easy. Yeah. But the point being that it's not because Peloton didn't think of it. It's because Peloton thought of it and discarded it, because for the most part, that's not what people want. And when you look at their engagement numbers, it bears out. Like, they're right. They have the data to back that up. And of course, yes, there are people that still want that. And like you said, Tom, there are workarounds.
Yeah.
The Coup Out.
Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube is Angelo from MetPro, here to answer all of your nutrition questions. Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
Great to see you guys. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you for coming back, because we need your help again. Last week was all about our hungry listeners. This week is all about our craving listeners. We've got Tammy Barnett. Okay. She says that she craves food that is not good for her at night, specifically sweets and carbs with fat like toast or buttered popcorn, which sounds amazing. And then we have Jodie Mccammon. She says she eats too much sugar. Darcy Bulger, getting over the sugar habit she developed between Halloween and holidays. Help.
So wait, is she eating toast and popcorn?
Well, she was saying
like a sandwich?
No, she said carbs with fat. So an example is toast, period.
Okay.
Also buttered popcorn.
Oh, okay. I thought she was doing both. I was like throwing some jelly beans, and you got yourself a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving.
Well, there you go, Tammy. Tom fixed it. Just have a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving.
So cravings are something that we all deal with. And if somebody says they don't have them, they're lying. Everybody has cravings from time to time. Sugar is the only thing we're literally born addicted to. So here's the deal. From a practical standpoint, what I try and tell my clients is deal with cravings and not cravings and hunger, because you're not going to win that battle. So chocolate cake tastes good. That's never going to change, right? You're always going to like chocolate cake.
That is true.
What changes is the environment. You walk by the bakery and you're starving. You're going to go and you're going to grab some treat, something that's sugary. You walk by the bakery, but you have already eaten a healthy meal. Now only sometimes you're going to indulge in the treat. See? So that's the trick. So big picture, and I will swing around to, okay, here's some good snacks to actually go to if you have a sweet tooth. But big picture, and more importantly, if you were my client and we were visiting and you said, I'm struggling at night after dinner with snacks, my next question is going to be, I want to know how dialed in we are at our mid-afternoon snack. And I'd probably even enlarge your mid-afternoon snack if it's not substantial enough. You will be amazed at how adding a mid-afternoon snack will stabilize your blood sugar. When you come to dinner time, you'll still be hungry, but you won't be ravenous, and you won't be having this massive blood sugar spike and drop that causes the nighttime cravings. Again, chocolate cake still tastes good. So my advice is don't keep it in the house, and you'll end up selecting something that's more nutritious. So that brings me to my second recommendation. So first is mid-afternoon snack, something simple and clean. I'm always a big fan of nuts and fruits. Keep it simple. My second recommendation is don't keep it in the house. I know this isn't viable for everyone, but I can make a very potent argument for the practicality of this. My clients are very motivated right out of the gate, weeks 2, weeks 3, they're dropping weight, they're seeing their body change right before their eyes. And then I ask them about, the pantry, and they say, oh yeah, we have the Oreos, we have the Nutter Butters, but that's for the husband, or that's for the wife, or that's for the kids, and I won't get into it. And you will.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah, you will. So, I've done this a couple times. And the thing is, you may have willpower, but willpower is secondary to just practical application. When we assume that we're not going to get into something, here's what you're signing up for. You're signing up for never being exhausted, never having a long day of work, never having something unexpected in your life pop up, never having something unexpected for your family's life pop up, never deal with excess stress, because all of these are triggers. And you're going to say, you know what? I'm dealing with this. I don't want to also deal with that. I deserve to have a night off. And that is okay, because you're right, and you do deserve to have a night off. And when you take that night off, I'd rather you not have chocolate cake in the fridge. I'd rather you have a night off with other foods. So practical steps, and trust me, I've done it myself. I don't eat Oreos, by the twos. I eat them by the sleeve. That's why I don't keep them in the house, because if I keep them in the house, I'm going to dive into them. Rarely will I, at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, go and say, you know what, I'm going to put on my blazer. I'm going to grab the keys. I'm going to drive down to the gas station and grab myself a treat.
You have a very fancy gas station.
Yeah. Why are you putting your blazer on to go to the gas station?
Right? Well, if I go to the gas station where I live, everyone knows me around here. So I have to not only wear my blazer, but I have to wear the fake mustache and glasses too. Otherwise I get razzed.
Okay.
So. But most people will not get dressed, drive down, get something. Guess what? I've done that too. It will happen. It'll happen less often. So what are the options in your house? There should be good options. I'm a big fan of fruit, and all the different things that you can do with fruit. So one of my favorite recipes at nighttime is Greek yogurt and strawberries. Try putting it in the blender, put a non-artificial sweetener in it. I like something like a stevia or even a Truvia would be okay. And mix it up in the blender. Put it in the freezer for just 10, 15 minutes to chill it a little bit. It's delicious. It's a wonderful snack. Some of my clients, they do frozen blueberries and then they put a little bit of Truvia over it, and it's sweet and it gives them something to look forward to. If you're a nighttime snacker where you prefer something savory, I like doing low-fat string cheese melted over sliced apple, and you can even put a little garlic powder or salt on it. There's a lot of little, my favorite is savory. So I struggle with the salty. So I'll get in trouble with the Oreos, but a bag of potato chips is even more deadly. So I can't keep that in the house. You know what I do love is I'll use either ham or turkey or roast beef, like a roll up, but instead of using cream cheese, I'll use a little cottage cheese, just a dollop. Context of that ham or turkey roll up, the taste is very similar and it's very satisfying. So there's lots of little tricks you can go to. If you're genuinely hungry, I tell people first go back and have another serving of your healthy foods that you had at dinner. If you still want a treat after that, go ahead. You're not going to have as much room in your belly, so the treat will be more modest sized. There are little tricks to minimize. So just to recap, have an afternoon snack, stabilize your blood sugar. Go with foods that are going to be more filling, voluminous foods. And at nighttime, you can have snacks that are clean and healthy, not keeping the junk food in your house. And those are going to be a few little tips to avoid the sugar cravings.
Those are very good tips.
So no chocolate cake in the house. What I'm hearing is red velvet and funfetti is what you're recommending.
You got the sense of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I can always count on Tom to come away with the moral of the story.
Reducing it to its core element. So that's what I'm here for. So, well, thank you very much. If people would like actual nutritional advice and not the things that I say, where can they find you?
They can find me at metpro.co/TCO.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Instructors in the news.
Alex, Toussaint has some fun news. So the NBA All-Star Game is just around the corner, and I guess they have a celebrity game where various famous people get to play basketball, and he is going to be one of them.
How cool is this? So let me make this full screen because I can't see which team he's on. There it is. Alex Toussaint. So he's on Team Walton. So yes. Did you see that Tiffany Haddish is on the other team?
I did see that. So is Kane Brown. I'm just I was
Kane
like,
Brown.
There's
hey,
so
you
many
took
names.
a picture for him once.
I did. He stole a picture I took and retweeted it as his own.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. But I was just like looking at these and I was like, I feel so old. Like I know almost none of these people. It's like, I know Alex Toussaint, I know Kane Brown, I know Tiffany Haddish. And I think that's it.
Machine Gun Kelly. You know who he is.
Oh, okay. I glossed over that name. Yes, I do know who Machine Gun Kelly is because I booked him. And and then
Jimmy Allen. We know who Jimmy Allen is too. He's a country singer.
Oh, okay. And they're going to have a Harlem Globetrotter on one of the teams. That's pretty cool.
They are?
Yeah. Krista Jackson.
Are you joking?
No.
Okay. I don't know who that is. Oh, it even says it right there. Harlem Globetrotters. I thought he was.
I only know because it say it. I don't know the Harlem the Harlem Globetrotters I know by name are going to be like, Meadowlark Lemon.
Well, that's why I was like, they would be a little old for this, I would think.
Well, they're still around. They just have new people playing.
I know. I just meant that the people that you would have watched.
Right. Yeah, that I would recognize by name are dead. They're dead. You just say it. They're dead. But yeah, but yeah, that's really cool that
it is very cool. And it's nice to just see some positive news. Like it's just straight up positive news.
Absolutely.
Can I take a little detour and just talk about a class I took today? I didn't have this on the list.
Sure. It's your show.
Okay. Well, it's our show. Yeah. So one thing that made me feel a lot better today and made me come into this conversation in a much better headspace was I took the 2-for-1 Black History Month run, and it was with Adrienne Williams and Jess Sims. It was clearly before all of this happened because they are smiling and happy without a care in the world. But it reminded me of, it just put in perspective for me, I guess, what this is all about, that our instructors, like you said, Tom, they are the product, but also the joy that they bring us and the lives that Peloton has saved, the things that Peloton has done for us. It's been absolutely wonderful. It has completely changed our lives. I mean, even you, Tom, you don't use any Peloton products, but it has changed your life so dramatically.
It absolutely has.
I was just thinking back on that as I was taking the run, and it is a joyous run to take. If you were having a bad day, it is the perfect class to take. So if you haven't checked it out, please do so. Sorry, Tom.
And no, you're fine. I also have to say that, like, yes, while I still don't use a Peloton, much to the consternation of many people, it certainly was my path to fitness, even if it's not the product I ended up using. If it hadn't been for your love of Peloton, we would have never been introduced to the world of Tonal and then MetPro, and I would not be where I am currently at. So
crazy.
Back into the segment itself, while we're talking about Alex Toussaint, or we were anyway, the ride to greatness that he's doing, they have their official team captains, and it's two sports people that I don't know. Ryan Tannehill, I don't know, star quarterback, comeback king, and Peloton member. And then Greg Olsen, veteran tight end, broadcaster, Peloton member. I can't help but notice that they don't say what teams they played for. Like, I guess if you're into sports, you instantly know. I don't instantly know. So I take that to mean there's some sort of, like, the NFL's not letting them use the name of the teams that they played for.
That would be my guess as well. And I'm with you, Tom. Obviously, I have no idea who those people are, but I know people are really excited about it. I also have heard a lot of people be a little bummed that, like, last year, Hannah Frankson, she was one of the team leads, and she really pulled for her team. Like, she was out there, on Instagram every day, like, come on. She was really riling people up, and these guys are celebrities and they have not done that. I don't know if they plan to, but
yeah, you would think if they bring them in, like, they'd be like, hey, here's the things you got to do, and they probably would just write the tweets for them, but you never know.
Yeah, maybe we'll still see that. It's a few weeks. It happens.
Sure, as it gets closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also the Today Show had the 20 best Peloton instructors for every type of workout.
Yes, it did. And everyone, I thought it was funny because everyone's like, oh, my instructor's missing off this, because of course you can't name every single instructor, but there were a lot
Not anymore.
Yeah. I know it was 50 of them, but 50 plus. But there were a lot of good mentions in here, and a lot of the people that we hear a lot of, Alex and Jess King and Dennis and Christine and Robin. So hopefully people that haven't been introduced to the Peloton world see this and they try out some instructors they have not tried before.
Absolutely.
Peloton celebrity sightings.
We have a new celebrity sighting. Donna Mills at 81 has entered the world of Peloton. She's a famous actress. She was, I know her because I love my movies, and especially 70s era cinema. She was in Clint Eastwood's directorial debut, Play Misty for Me. She was the girlfriend, not the crazy one with the knife, but the other one. Spoiler.
The other one.
Yeah.
Well, and one of our members posted this, and the name is escaping me at the moment, but I really appreciate that people send us this stuff. So thank you, because I wouldn't have seen that otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's Liz, there's her name. Liz Mullins.
Yes.
I can't read the last name.
Sarubo. Yeah. Yes, thank you very much for pointing that out to us. And while we're talking about celebrities in Peloton, for fans of nerd-based comedy, and I mean that in the best possible way, Lauren Lapkus, who you might know from, she was, I believe, was she on Big Bang Theory? And then Paul F. Tompkins, who used to be on all those VH1, like I Love the 90s and where they had all the comedians doing their little cut-in jokes. He was on a bunch of those, and he's been in a bunch of things as well. But they're both on a podcast that's exceedingly popular called Comedy Bang Bang, and they make these improv videos, and they have one out now called Lapkus and Tompkins, a Peloton Adventure. So if you want to check that out, it's only $5.
Okay.
So you can go check that out, and you can find the link for that in the newsletter this week if you sign up for it at theclipout.com.
Awesome.
In case you missed it.
DJ John Michael is celebrating 7 years with Peloton. I think 18 months of that as a full-time employee because he was freelance for so long before they finally brought him on board, before they finally wised up and made him an actual Peloton employee. But a lot of the instructors chimed in. They made a very nice video for him. They
did. It was really sweet. And so if you haven't gotten to see it, definitely check it out and send congrats to DJ John Michael. He's a huge part of all of this wonderful community that we have. And of course, Peloton.
Peloton artist collaborations.
So we have the latest artist collaboration. This time it features Swizz Beatz. I always have trouble pronouncing those things where the S's or Z's, so I say them right.
I'm like, should we say Swiss Beatz?
I think you're supposed to say Swizz Beatz. Okay. I always feel like
a million years old.
I know, like salt and pepper.
I know. I know.
My reference is a million years old.
Yeah.
But legendary producer produced his first hit single at 18. So you can check that out. Also, Verzuz is back and with a twist.
Tell us about the twist.
Oh, okay.
I can't see anything. Hang on. I'll just make it big again. I'm trying to keep track of the list because you're not keeping track of the list very well.
Sorry.
So editors, I'll pick up here. If you can delete my little, I don't know. Yeah. So for this round, instead of being a head-to-head battle, the instructors are going to play a compilation of all their favorite songs from the battles. So it's going to be the head-to-head. So you get to pick each one. So.
Awesome. And that will be with Ben Aldis, Andy Spear, and country music superstar Chase Tucker.
I'm sure Chase loves that every time.
I doubt he's ever heard me say it.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sure if Chase ever hears it, he's going to be like, what?
He's going to be like, you son of a bitch.
No, he's too chill. He's like the chillest of all instructors.
He's like, I'm going to put my boot up your ass. How's that for country?
Peloton birthdays.
We had a birthday sneak by us, but he's one of the newer instructors, so I don't feel too bad. But Daniel McKenna celebrated his birthday on February 4th.
Happy birthday, Daniel McKenna, and your cute little puppy dog too.
and don't feel left out or worried. I added you to the calendar, so we will do you in advance next year. Because unlike Chase Tucker, I'm sure he listens every week.
Right. Yeah, I feel like that's true.
Yeah, it seems right.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
So joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Megan Pace. Hey, Megan, how's it going?
Hi, it's going well. How are you guys?
Good.
And before we dig in too much, we just want to put out there that in this particular interview, we will hit on the topic of eating disorders. And I know some people, if they've struggled with that in the past, don't want to hear about it. And so if that is an issue for you, we will see you next week.
Yeah.
So
we get that, respect it, understand it.
Totally.
And I also just want to add that none of us are doctors. This is
yes.
Megan's experience that we are talking about. So if you are struggling with anything, please do not take this as medical advice. Talk to your doctor.
Right. Okay.
All right. We got the disclaimers
there
set aside.
None of the lawyers are happy.
Let's start with the fun part, Megan. How did you originally hear about Peloton?
I was trying to think. I know my daughter was in VPK. So that was late 2017, early 2018. I had a friend ask me to go to a spin class with her at the gym. And I went, and it was few months down the road, I was coming out of that class and ran into a friend, and she had mentioned something about Peloton, and I didn't didn't really know much about it, didn't know what it was. And when I went home, I think they hear you talking about it. I got an ad about it and started looking into it. And it was the same thing everybody says, it's pricey. I don't know. And I just told myself, for now, I want to make sure I'm going to enjoy these spin classes and actually be into it. So I started going to those, and my daughter, her school was 3 days a week. So the other 2 days a week, I know you guys will appreciate this. We live near Orlando, so we had Disney passes. Nice. And so she had school Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday. We would probably one of those days go to Disney. Well, that was also a day that they had the spin classes. So my options were to either drop her off at school and hurry to a spin class, which I didn't want to do. I wanted to go home, have a hot cup of coffee and relax for a little bit, then go to the gym. Or we'd have to hurry home on those days we're out and about. And I'd try to make the 5:30 class, but you got to get there early because they have, only so many bikes and it's a popular class. So it just got to be a pain in the butt. And I just finally, this summer, I ordered it and I got it on July 20th, 2018. Was into it, loved it. It was great. I was using it a lot. And I remember that was when the tread, people were pre-ordering the tread and waiting for those to come out. And initial reaction was, that is one heck of a pricey treadmill. And I remember telling one of my friends, I said, unless that thing mists me and makes me a smoothie when I'm done, I'm not getting it. And in the meantime, I was still going to the gym to lift weights, and I would use their treadmills to do the running classes. And I also had a treadmill at home. So I was doing those for a while. A few months in, told my husband, I said, let's go to Boca. I just want to check it out.
Just want to look at it.
Just see what all the hype is about. And I knew what I was doing. It's one of those things my husband knows. When you make an appointment to go somewhere to look at something,
as a husband, we also know what you're doing.
He knows me. He knows me.
That's why I'm never allowed to go to animal shelters.
Right. Definitely
I'm not allowed in handbag stores.
Yeah.
I hear you.
But he was a good sport about it. We made an appointment. I went down there, and I remember it was a 20-minute Olivia class, and just everything about it. I mean, it felt great running on it. The class was amazing. And so April 9th, 2019, we got the Tread Plus.
Tread Plus. I see that.
Yeah,
I see that beauty right there behind you.
Yeah. I love the bike. And when they announced the Bike Plus, my husband, bless his heart, he just, I already know. Okay. And so sold my bike, original bike, and then got the Bike Plus. But the Tread, I love it. But it's one of those things where I tend to overdo it. So I have to take a break from running. I had a lot of injuries in 2019 and 2020 with stress fractures, shin splints. Then I had foot surgery. I had cysts on the bottom of my foot. So I had to go back to the bike, and it was nice having that. But I love both, but I love the Tread.
I kind of tend to gravitate toward the Tread myself these days. There's just something about, I don't know, about running. It's just invigorating. I don't really understand it because on paper, I shouldn't like it. And I love it. I can't stop taking the classes.
I remember there was a post in the group about the whole Tread thing, and they're not selling as many or whatever. And it's one of those things where running on a tread or treadmill gets such a bad rap. Like, it's so boring, and why? I just want to be outside. Well, one, I live in Central Florida. It's hot. I don't do anything outside if I don't have to.
Yeah. It's awful. Yeah. That heat.
But being on that tread, you're just the screen, everybody talks, oh, it's so big, but you're just immersed in it, and you feel like you're there, and it's just, there's nothing that compares. And it's so, you can't say that's running on a treadmill. It's totally different.
I agree with you. 100%. It's my favorite running ever. I definitely prefer it to running outside, and we're in Missouri, so it can get really nasty like it does there in Florida. But the last time we were in Florida and we were going on a cruise, I was like, oh, that morning I'll just wake up and I'll go and I'll do a quick run, before we get on the boat. No, I was like, what is this nastiness? Like, it was like, it hurt to breathe. I don't even understand.
The humidity, it's just
crushing.
And it's one of those where you got to get up early if you want it before it's, the real heat. But no, I don't wake up. I'm just one of those people. I will not wake up to work out.
Yeah.
And plus our stuff, we're in our bedroom, our stuff's in here. So my husband's sleeping. He's certainly not going to wake up so that I can work out. So
Sure.
When I got my year in review for Peloton, I think in 2019, it said, you're a midday hustler. I said, I absolutely am.
Well, and I know you've had quite a fitness journey that's been filled with ups and downs. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So growing up, typical just overweight child, started in early elementary school all the way through essentially college. It was like it wasn't just overweight. I was very overweight. I remember even late elementary school, probably 5th, 6th grade, it was some like science fair or something like that. And I had to get an outfit and I had to shop in the women's sizes. And it was hard. I never really had issues like not having friends or anything like that. I had a great family. I had great friends, but it's one of those things where I played sports and I was always the big girl on the team. In high school, I was always, the big friend and all that, and it wears on you. And I remember it was my freshman year of high school that a girl, she came in and she was talking about something. And that was where I got the idea of there are ways you could have the food and then not have the negative results from eating that. So that was where freshman year of high school was where the bulimia started. And it wasn't anything to lose weight per se. It was more, I want to eat this, but I just don't want to regret it. I don't want to get any bigger. And then gradually it became about losing weight. I didn't really lose much in high school. I remember my high school prom, I had to shop in the plus sizes for a dress. And that was really hard looking back on those pictures. I used to never look at them. I hid them from my husband, but now I can appreciate where I've come, how far I've come from that. And so that was high school. When I went away to college, it was the same. It was harder to hide the bulimia because I was in a dorm and we had the community bathrooms at Florida State. So kind of stayed about the same. And then, so that was at the end of my second year, one of my friends from high school, he lived in an apartment with 2 other friends from high school. He was going home for the summer and I sublet from him. And now I had privacy. So things gradually got a little worse from there to where, okay, well now I'm just, I'm not going to eat today. And that summer it kind of picked up. And then the next year I was in an apartment again and same thing. So I lost a little bit of weight and started seeing, oh, well now I'm actually wearing normal size clothes. Because I remember being in college at Florida State of all places, you have these gorgeous people walking around like most colleges, but that's what we were known for. And here I was wearing size 20 and that was devastating. I had always planned to play softball. When I got to Florida State, I was good at it. I wanted to play there for so many years, but I didn't because I didn't want to be the big girl on the team. So that was something else that I lost because of my weight. And so it was things gradually, I lost some weight. They were getting a little more serious in that regard. And then I only spent 3 years there. I graduated in 2005 and my mom we had gotten closer when I had gone away to college, and she had said, why don't you come back home? You can stay here rent free, get a job, get on your feet, get things going with your career. And so I did. I moved back home, and pretty much right away I got a job working at a bank. And the schedule there, I was working 1 to 10, 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. So I didn't really see my parents except on the weekends.
What kind of bank is open until 10 p.m.?
Well, it was Washington Mutual, but it was a service center. So we handled like home equity loans and
I know this dumb thing to get hung up on. I was just like, 1 to 10 at a bank. Yeah. I worked at a bank. We were done by 5. That's the bank. That's the upside. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a big one. They had call center and then processing and everything in it. So, and it was great. I'd get up in the morning. I would go to the gym.
It's great for a midday hustler.
Yeah,
that's right. That's me.
Yeah.
Sleep in, like stay up late, and things they just started to progressively get worse now that I had this freedom, and I trying to hide it from my parents still, which was easier to do when I'm not coming home till, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
And my guess is you're probably getting positive feedback, right? Like people are like, "Oh, you're losing weight."
Oh,
like
yeah.
they don't know the method, and so they're like, "Oh, that's great." Like that's just kind of natural human nature to congratulate you, which I'm sure, ironically enough, doesn't help.
Right. Oh yeah, and especially for someone that you spent so long wanting to be smaller, and it was happening. But people didn't know that, for the whole day, I wouldn't eat. I would come to work. I'd bring like some carrot sticks, an apple. That would be my meal for the day.
Right.
And that was it. And that went on for a long time. And I think people knew finally because I was losing so much weight and they didn't see me eating anything. I'd go they had a big break room. And I remember they had a little machine off to the side that had the blood pressure cuff, but the seat was also a scale. And it would tell you your weight. It would tell you your BMI. And I would go over there every day. And I was just checking. And I could not wait. I wanted my BMI to get down I wanted to be out of the normal range.
Oh.
And that's what I wanted. And so eventually it got to the point where, when you're not eating, you're eating less than 100 calories a day. I had no energy. I remember just in my house walking, I would just kind of not faint, but kind of veer off, and I'd walk into the wall because I just didn't have the energy to move. I was sleeping a lot. I don't know how I managed to keep working all that time. And I had a leadership role, and I did it, but my father, I still don't know. He passed away in 2016. So I never really talked to him about it, but I think my mom knew what was going on. Honestly, I think she sometimes on the weekend would hear me in the bathroom or something. And obviously she could see the weight loss that was happening. And it got to the point where now I was underweight. She'd tell me, Megan, I see your bones. Like, is this how you want to live? Like, you're going to lose everything. You're going to end up in the hospital. You're just going to lose everything you have. And I didn't care at that point. I remember I would walk into a store, and when you're so used to shopping in the plus size section for so long, and you walk into a store and then you're the smallest size on the rack. Like, to go from in high school, I was wearing men's clothes because baggy, hiding, and I would walk into a store and I'd get to pull a small off the rack like that. I didn't care. You tell me, if you had told me, well, you could die from, I don't care. I love this. I've never felt, just walking into a store and just not worrying about it and knowing you're going to be able to fit into whatever they have. And it finally got to the point, I remember I had come home and I was just going to take a bath. I always took showers, but I'm going to take a bath. And I had to put towels on the bottom of the bathtub because I had no body fat, that just sitting on the tub hurt. And so here, and I don't know what it was, but sitting there, I said, I talked in my head, like, I'm going to say something to my mom. Like, I'm going to ask her for help, because I remember I talked to a friend and I reached out to her and I said, I was at the gym and I looked in the mirror, and for once I kind of saw what was there. And I texted my friend. I was like, do I look sick to you? And she said, yes. And her and I had been close in college. So when I knew she would be honest with me. So when she said yes, I had been thinking about it. So that evening, for whatever reason, I guess because I'm like, how have I gotten to the point where I can't even take a bath? Like,
right.
This is really pathetic, is what I was thinking. I said, okay, it's time. I'm going to ask my mom for help. So I remember I got out of the bathtub, I wrapped myself in a towel. So at my parents' house, that bathroom was in the main hallway, and she was in the computer room to the right, and she keeps her door open. So if I just stepped outside, she would have seen me. So I stood there and I just wrapped in a towel, all right, just take a step out of the doorway, sitting there. And I stood there for, 10 minutes. And finally she was walking by and she kind of did a double take, and then she kept going, but then she backed up and she looked at me, and I just lost it. I just started crying, and a mom knows. So she came and she just hugged me. She came and hugged me, and then she pulled me out to the couch in the living room, and I just laid in her lap. And she said, it's going to be okay. I'll help you. We'll find out what we need to do. And so that was the moment where she understood, I need help now. I'm finally at the point where I'm ready to do something. So I looked on my insurance and found a psychologist that specialized in eating disorders. And we found a nutritionist. That didn't work out. She's trying to explain, you need to be okay with eating more fat and all this stuff. And she made an agreement with me that 6 almonds a day, that would be a good, so I knew, I was like, even with what I have going on in my head, I know that this is not right. So I ended up just working with a psychologist, and every night this was 2007, I think. So I was 23. Every night I'd be at work. After dinner, I would go on my computer and I would write my mom an email and give her my food journal for the day. And I was honest with her. I mean, obviously I could have lied, but I think I was just so sick of the way things were that I was honest with her, and we just kind of worked from there. And it was a lot of learning. It wasn't easy by any means. Everybody knows it's not something that you just, go talk to a therapist for a couple sessions and then you're cured. Yeah. And it was very gradual. I know in the beginning I focused on the fat-free foods, the low-calorie foods. I guess you'd say a lot of it was plant-based because I couldn't find, maybe chicken I'd be okay with, but I didn't eat a lot of it. And it was just trying to gradually add in things that I was comfortable eating and trying to gain weight, because at that point, I lost my cycle. So in my head, I was like, well, I'm never going to have kids. I know I need to get back to a point where I'm at a healthy weight. And if I want that, because I do want to have kids. So that was a motivator. And then I think I had skin, obviously, especially in my midsection, that I was never going to have a flat stomach. So that was part of it. Is I kept losing weight, thinking maybe eventually I will have a flat stomach. And it was the skin, so it wasn't going to happen. Right. And I did make an appointment to have a tummy tuck. And unfortunately, it didn't work. Normally they do from hip to hip, but mine was under my breasts from armpit to armpit to pull the skin up. And it was horrible recovery. And essentially it was a waste of a lot of money and it didn't work. So that was this thing that was going to help me on my recovery. And that was devastating. Like that just,
yeah.
And so, I just eventually got past it. It was what it was going to be. I wasn't going to do anything else until after I had kids. And then I met my husband. I had joined a motorcycle group because my father had always been into motorcycles. My brother too, we did BMX. So anything 2 wheels, our family was into. And gas prices back then, it was when they were sky high and I worked 45 minutes away. I can get a motorcycle. And then I was taking the class and they told me about this group that we had, a forum. And I'm like, okay, I'll join it. And then they had bike nights. I was like, this is really good girl to guy ratio. So who's not going to love it? Here I am, this young, attractive female showing up at bike nights. And my husband was there and he had a good college degree. He had a really good job. I said, that's the one. So that we met there and I think he knew I had eating issues because I remember we would go on group rides and they would stop at a convenience store and people would go and get snacks because they'd be long rides. I'd be the one to go in there and I'd get a jar of salsa. And that's what I would eat because it was vegetables. It was the only vegetables I could find. But he knew kind of what going, I don't think he understood the extent of it because I never showed him the pictures of when I was really sick. And I never showed him the pictures of when I was really big. So he didn't really understand it, but eventually he knew because I was still having issues with the bulimia sporadically.
Okay.
Because I would just get, worked up about, it was hard.
Sure.
But just over time, I did a lot of reading, took a few nutrition courses, just trying to learn. And it wasn't until I finally, everybody thinks you're skinny, you're healthy, but I wasn't because I was on an antidepressant. I had digestive issues. I was fatigued all the time. An afternoon nap sounded great constantly. Brain fog, things like that. So how could I be healthy just because I'm skinny? So finally I'm working out in my head, okay, I need to eat better. And finally it was realizing that, okay, maybe the fat-free, sugar-free, low-calorie stuff isn't what I should be focusing on. Maybe I do need to eat things that, heaven forbid, have some fat in them. I need to find something with protein and things like that. So it's just been over the last couple of years getting to a point where, okay, now I feel like I know what's going to fuel my body versus, okay, I just want what's the lowest calorie thing I can find. And that's been the best thing for me is finally having it click in my head that it's the ingredients that matter instead of what's on the nutrition facts label.
Wow.
Yeah, that had to be frightening as you're starting to put weight back on. Like on the one hand, that's for the best, but it had to be such a culture shift, and I would think that it would be like a loss of control. I guess
that's what I was picturing too.
That you're just like, can I stop it as it goes the other direction? Like, and I'm projecting, so if what I'm saying is wrong.
Right.
No, yeah, absolutely. It was always
I'm not trying to tell you how you feel.
It's always, I guess, in the back of my head, but it's not been until recently where now I'm at the point where, you know what? It's okay to go up a size in pants if it's going to look better. I don't need to squeeze into the size I want to be.
Right.
Because you're going to look better if your clothes fit.
Right.
And that's only been recently that I've been okay with that. And a big part of that was, I think, with Peloton, before I was going to the gym to lose weight. I was working out to burn calories. It was, what did I eat yesterday? All right, let's go to the gym and burn that off. Whereas now I'm going to go do a run because it's fun. Yeah. I'm going to go lift weights because I want to, have more strength and I want to see bigger muscles. Especially, I have a daughter, she's 8.5. And so we had fertility issues. We did IVF with ICSI and did 2 rounds, and we were lucky enough to get pregnant with her on the second round. And I found out as soon as possible what we were having. And when she told us it was a girl, I cried. I think I spent the whole weekend upset because I didn't want her to end up like me. I was so scared of passing on my food issues to her that I had hoped so much for a boy. And now I find myself, I have a tattoo on my bicep that says, because she's watching. And it's a reminder that I use the F word in front of her, but not FAT. That's my thing. I refuse to use that word in front of her. I don't ever talk about not liking something about me, my body, as much as, I don't want her to eat like I do. I know I'm pretty strict because I want to be. It's not because I don't want to gain weight. It's because I want to put the stuff in my body that is going to help it. But I've learned that I'm going to let her be a kid. When we go to the birthday parties, as much as in my head, I'm like, don't eat that birthday cake. I let her have the birthday cake. She goes to school. Her thing is when she's good all week, she can buy lunch on Fridays. And, it is what it is. I don't want to get any sort of food fear in her and create any sort of relationship with food for her that is not a healthy relationship. And we talk about it. And just like we talk about exercise, I remember she came home from kindergarten one day and she was jumping rope in the living room. And she said, we exercise so we don't get fat. And I just froze.
Oh no.
I was like, this is exactly what I was scared of.
Your worst.
And can't control what other kids say.
Right.
And so we had a conversation, and it's been a constant conversation now that no, we exercise because it makes us feel good. It's good for our muscles. It's good for our mental health. It makes us happy and it's fun. And so she knows it because she sees how much I enjoy doing the rides and runs and talking about that. But I try not to be super strict with her, but we do talk about it. Brindley, my whole thing with her is you can eat anything you want. You just want to find the better version of it.
Right.
We have our favorite ice cream. It's this brand called Fronin, and it's like some of the flavors 4 to 6 ingredients, and it's stuff like banana, water, coconut cream, honey, and then flavoring. I said, Brindley, you can have ice. She loves it. I said, this is all I want you to know is you can have it. Nowadays it's so easy to find the better version. We've got potato chips in the pantry. We've got, I know, Crystal, the Hue kitchen chocolate. So I have those chocolate bars that I put squares of it in her lunch. I said, you can have all this food. We just try to find the one that has better ingredients.
Right.
Because it's going to make you feel better and it's better for you.
I appreciate that you're so aware of that and that you're trying so hard to make sure that she has a healthy relationship with food. Like I just, as a fellow mom, I thank you for that because, a lot of people, they experience trauma and they don't of any kind, and they go through whatever they go through and they don't stop to think about how it's affecting their kids. And so it means a lot to me that you're able to do that. So congratulations. And I think that's amazing.
Thank you. I'm just lucky my husband is totally on board with it. He understands and he supports it. He never, Megan, why do you have to, okay. He gets it. So just without him, things would be, I would be in a worse position. And, it was, so we went to the studios in New York to do my 400th ride. And it was February 2020.
Oh,
and
wow.
You snuck that into the wire.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Got it in. I'd been wanting to go, and it was a belated birthday gift. So we went up there, and then of course, crap hit the fan. Yeah. And I was, you're stuck at home. You have all this time to exercise. And I was running a lot, and I'd found Selena's squad. I cannot say enough about that group, because finding them, really, we started doing the group runs. Like, well, there's no live classes. Let's do our own. Let's get together and okay, let's do, who wants to run, tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And in a time where I could have really, normally I would have slipped back into, all right, now I'm exercising. Okay, now I'm going to go. I weigh myself once, twice a year. As someone that used to weigh themselves, 4 or 5 times a day, I just have learned to not focus on that, especially with building strength. I know I'm going to gain weight, but so this time that normally I would be obsessing over it, because now I have the time to just sit at home and work out as much as I want. It was because my mindset had shifted from let's work out to burn calories to let's work out to have fun. I'm going to go run with my friends today. Who wants to do, a ride and all that stuff? It could have been a whole different story, but I came out of, I don't think we're still out of that, but I'm still in a position where I still have a good mindset. And it's because just this whole community, you don't see a lot about that. Let's go do a ride. I need to burn some calories today. You still have people that talk about it, but it really is just, let's do it because it's fun, because this ride sounds like fun. Oh, this new artist series, I love them. Let's do that run together. And it's been beneficial, because now I have the healthiest relationship with exercise that I've had my entire life.
That's great. Because I was wondering how you strike that balance, because it was a component of what you were struggling with, but obviously exercise typically is a good thing. And so that's got to be a delicate tightrope to walk.
Yeah.
It was an obsessive thing to do it, but I think really having something that made it fun.
Right. You change the motivation behind it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Because I knew I wasn't oriented, but the goal is fun now instead of other things.
And because I was no longer so focused on calories and all that, it was a good time to get the bike and the tread and all that, because who knows, a few years ago, maybe I would have gotten it and it would have been something that I don't know, but it came along when it was going to be great for me. And it's still, I volunteer a lot at my daughter's school. And so I was there all day today, but I really, want to get in, ride or something. So I did a holiday ride as soon as we came home from school, because I'm like, all these rides are just so much fun. I want to do one and now it's not, I didn't do my workout today. I feel, and normally I would feel that way. Like, no, if I don't work out, I feel like crap. I just feel like a slug and all that. But no, now it's I want to do it because there's so many fun ones and I really enjoy it. I'm going to feel good and all that stuff. So then we did Crystal. We have the tonal. That was, Mother's Day 2020.
Awesome.
And so this being able to focus, now my mind is, I don't want to be skinny. I want to be strong.
Right. Yeah.
I want to be healthy. That is just, it's hard to look back and know and see what I put myself through, because there are always going to be lasting effects. I have arthritis issues, and I know a lot of that stemmed from so many years, putting my body through that.
Right.
But now, hey, I feel like I'm in great shape. Certainly my husband, he's oh, what do you want for Mother's Day? I want, fitness equipment. Okay. So I can't say enough about the people that I found in Selena's squad. I'd been in the other groups before, I just never really participated much, but finding these people, it's just, how it is when you just click
totally
with your people.
Everybody talks about find your group.
Yeah.
And these were my people. These are the ones that when we get together on Sundays for our Sunday brunch runs, my husband, now it's at the point he knows. He's like, all right, Sunday afternoons, she's busy. I had to do something last Sunday, and it was a annual tradition with my mother and my daughter. I guess I can't get out of that. All right, I'm missing Sunday brunch. And I was devastated.
So you keep talking about Selena's squad. Is Selena and that squad, like, is Selena your favorite instructor, or is that a tough question?
Yeah, I mean, for the tread, she's my go-to, and she's very genuine, and I love her. But I mean, it's like people have said before, it's like picking your favorite kid. But I have
totally
the ones, and how it is. It just depends on your mood, and also if somebody's doing the artist series are so great that I can run to anything, because it doesn't matter even if it's not the kind of music that I love. It's just they make it a lot of fun. Kirsten, I'm loving her.
She's so great.
The new instructor, because she's the same way. She's very real. She's very relatable. I just have a lot of fun with her. But Selena, it's something special with her and the squad that I'll always have her be my top.
That's wonderful.
That's awesome. So do you have any advice for people who are just entering the world of Peloton? And you have both worlds of Peloton at your disposal.
I know a lot of people start with the bike, but I've had a lot of friends that they're always, I just, they call it the numbers, and I just can't hit those numbers. You don't need to. Right. When you're starting out, in my opinion, you go for cadence and the resistance, you do what you can do to hit that cadence. And eventually the resistance will start getting up and you'll hit the numbers. I have days where I don't, because maybe, it was leg day yesterday and I'm just on the bike trying to, do a great ride. You can't, especially when you're starting out, you don't need to hit the numbers. You do what you can do and just do it for fun. And I know people mentioned it before that the instructors maybe you liked in the beginning, maybe you like different ones now. Because in the beginning, Cody wasn't my cup of tea, but now I love him. I hate to say it, in the beginning, Robin, we weren't meshing, but now I love her. And it's just, sometimes you just got to try something different, try a different instructor, and don't focus so much on the numbers. Just focus on the fact that you're there and you're getting out of it what you need to get out of it.
Yes.
Totally. Yes. So what is your leaderboard name?
It is FSU Seminole Girl. I am diehard Florida State.
That's wonderful. I love seeing
you were only there for 3 years because apparently you're a great student.
I'm still bitter about that. I said, I kind of question, why did I do all those, advanced placement and stuff and all that in high school when I got gypped out of a year in college?
Oh, I've never heard anybody say that. That's amazing.
Look at it this way, but you don't have all those student loans.
That's true. That's true.
I know. Thankfully, but I didn't turn 21 until the middle of my last year there. Oh, so my parents are probably glad about that, but I was not.
Yeah, I bet. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us and sharing your story. I know it's a tough one to share, but I'm sure that there's people out there listening that it means the world to. So
and it means the world to us that you would be so able to share. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So before we let you go, where can people find you if you would like to be found?
I will be with the squad on Sunday brunch, FSU Seminole Girl. And then on Instagram, I am lattes and play dates.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Clip out.
So I guess that brings this epic episode to a close, an epic-sode. So until next week, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook.
Wait, I forgot to ask you who is next week.
You did. I was wondering what was going to happen there. Jeffrey Hutt will be joining us. So that is a wonderful conversation. I can't wait to share it with you guys.
Okay. Now where can people find you?
Now people can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe. They can find me on Instagram, Twitter, on the bike or the tread at ClipOutCrystal.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. And of course, don't forget our YouTube channel, youtube.com/theclipout. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep pedaling
and running.